today I am making a card. I asked on Facebook what you guys would like to see, and the two suggestions I got were birthday card, and one person suggested purple. So I have this new stamp I haven't used called Birthday Wishes for You from Stampin' Up. And I have some new inks that I got, Gorgeous Grape and Highland Heather, although I think I'm only going to use one of them. Probably the Highland Heather. I got some new markers too. I haven't tried their Stampin' Blends markers yet, so I got the Pool Party in the light and the dark. I've got some Highland Heather cardstock. I've got some Pool Party cardstock. And then I've got this designer paper from several years ago that coordinates the pool party. So I'm going to use all of these to create the card for today. It's going to be fairly simple, so hopefully you guys enjoy, and let's get started.
Here's where I'm going to transition into a voiceover, and as you see as I make this card, pretty much everything goes not as intended. I'm going to start by taking a blank sheet of white cardstock, and I'm going to stamp the happy birthday from the Birthday Wishes for You. Now I want to color in the birthday, but I'd like the banners to be that Highland Heather color. So first I'm going to stamp in the black Memento ink, and then attempt to color these in using these new Stampin' Up! Blending markers. And you'll see how that goes. So I'm going to stamp this with my Misty, but the Misty has a foam insert that makes it so that you can use clear stamps in it. So I need to take that foam insert out because this happy birthday stamp is a cling stamp, so it's a lot thicker. I chopped my cardstock down a little bit just to fit inside the Misty. I'm not that worried about it being too straight because I'm going to cut the cardstock down even more to put on my card. Now I'm going to ink up that birthday stamp with that Memento Tuxedo Black. So I'm just going to stamp that down. I like using the Memento Tuxedo Black as it doesn't bleed when I color it with my Copics or Spectrum Noir markers. So here I assume that it's going to work with the Stampin' Blending markers. But you'll see how that turns out. So here I'm thinking I'm going to color it with the new stamping markers. Now I've got light and dark Pool Party, so I thought it would be really cool to have the light Pool Party on the top of the birthday with a transition into the darker Pool Party on the bottom. So I start here coloring with this light Pool Party marker, and immediately I can feel the difference in the tips versus my Copic markers. I can't decide if I like the tip or not. It does seem a little firmer, so maybe it's a little bit more detailed, but it also, for some reason, I don't have as much control as I do with my Copics or my Spectrum Noirs. I just can't quite figure this tip out. So I'm finishing up with the light Pool Party, and I do notice that it's bleeding a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and try the darker Pool Party on the bottom and see how it goes. I'm trying to show you here some of that bleed. It's not too bad, but it's not something I notice with my Copics or my Spectrum Noirs. We're going to go ahead and continue on. So I'm filling in the bottom just up into about the middle of that B with the darker Pool Party, and this is where I really start to notice it bleeding a ton. And when I finish with the dark, I'm going back over it with the light just to blend the two colors together. And I just don't like how this looks. This is the first part of this card that just doesn't go as intended. I'm looking at it and it has a ton of bleed. So here I'm kind of giving you a close-up just so you can see those together. I don't get that when I use my Copic markers. So I ended up taking a similar color of Copics and filling in the Y just to show you what I mean. If you look at that Y, there is no bleed along the lines, but that ink over on the B is bleeding a lot. I just determined right now I don't really like these Stampin' Up! Markers. I'm hoping I can find other uses for them, but if it's going to bleed when I use my Memento ink, then it's not for me. So I decide that I'm going to re-stamp the happy birthday and then color it in with that similar colored Copic marker. I won't get that light dark effect because I don't have more than one of these colors, but I'm okay with that. I don't want that bleed. Okay, so I've gone ahead and re-stamped my happy birthday, and now I'm going to take that Copic marker BG23 and I'm going to color in the birthday with just that marker. So you can see as I'm finishing up coloring in this birthday that it doesn't bleed at all, and that makes me a lot happier. I'm curious to know if you guys like the Stampin' Up! Blending markers or if there's another ink that I should be using instead of Memento. I just haven't had a problem with Memento with the other two alcohol markers that I have. Maybe I'm just misunderstanding the Stampin' Up! Ones. So now I want to take the Highland Heather ink and I want to stamp the happy and the rest of that sentiment in the purple, and I'm going to cut it out and layer it on top of the birthday part. So I cut some extra strips of white cardstock to stamp on, and I'm bringing back the MISTI in case I don't stamp evenly. I've taken that foam insert out again, but I am putting my little slip of grid paper in there just in case it stamps over the edge, which you'll see it does. So first I'm going to stamp the happy. Now this is the first time I'm also using the new Stampin' ink pads. And again, I'm undecided if I like them. They seem a little bit more difficult to open and slide, but it might just be that they're kind of tight. They are definitely different than the original Stampin' pads, which I pull out now just to show you the difference. But they're about the same size. They still fit in my ink holder just fine. So I think it just takes some getting used to. So I'm just going to tap that Highland Heather on the stamp and stamp that down. I'm going to do the same with my sentiment. All right, so now I have everything stamped. I'm going to use my scissors and just carefully cut around the two banners so that I can layer them then on top of the birthday stamp. Okay, so I have my banners cut out, and basically I'm going to put the longer one that says "with many wishes just for you" at the bottom, and then the happy is going to fit right on top of the previously stamped happy. So hopefully you won't see any of the black underneath. And then I'm going to layer that panel over this Highland Heather. Just have a little simple border right around my white panel. And then underneath the Highland Heather, I want to use some of the pattern paper that coordinates with Pool Party. Even though I didn't end up using the Pool Party markers, the color I did use is very close, just a little bit darker. And then under that is going to be another Highland Heather card panel. So here I've got everything all cut out to size, and you'll see shortly is where the next part kind of goes wrong. I'm going to use some of these Stampin' Up! Candy dots on top. They're not the exact same color purple, but I do think that they will coordinate well with the Pool Party and the Highland Heather. So I'm going to score my card at 4 1/4. And now I'm going to begin putting my card together. The first panel I'm going to put on here is the patterned cardstock. So I'm just using my big old ATG gun. This is my favorite. It's got a super sticky adhesive. It's a little bit confusing to load and unload, but you get the hang of it. Sometimes I do have to rewatch the video on how to do it. So I'm going to put that down. I like the circles kind of pointing down and to the right as opposed to pointing up. And then next, I want to actually adhere the white panel to the purple panel. So first thing I do, I put on my adhesive and I'm attaching this to the purple panel, and you'll see, hopefully on camera you'll be able to see this. I stick that down and notice the purple panel is not cut right. Somehow I didn't cut that as an even edge. Sometimes my rotary trimmer that I use just, I don't know if it moves the paper on me, but it didn't cut straight. So I decided to rip it all off and do it again. So I've got a new piece of purple cut, and this one lines up just fine. So I'm thinking, okay, great. So I've got this lined up. I'm gonna go and attach this to my card front. So I go to center this on my card panel, and here's where things go wrong again. I look at the top left corner, and there is a little Stampin' Up! Watermark on the pattern, which is fine if you can cover it up, but it's going to show on my card. So here I'm really aggravated, and now I've got to rip this off and cut a new piece of pattern paper. So I go ahead, I cut a new piece of pattern paper, and now I'm going to go attach that to my card. When I pulled the other one off, you'll see it did rip just a little bit, but it wasn't enough to be noticeable on the inside of the card, so I just kept it rather than wasting the card base. So now I can go ahead and attach the sentiment panel to the card and make sure that's all nice and centered. And then after that, we're going to attach the little banners to the card. Now I try to go ahead and use my ATG gun, which you're gonna see. That just doesn't work. It doesn't stick to the banner. It's not enough for me to grab that little tiny banner. So I'm gonna switch to a tear tape that I've had for a while. I don't know what brand it is. That's gonna work a lot better. And here's where I also noticed that my mat is wonky and realized I filmed for at least several minutes with a wonky mat, and like I said, this was the project where anything that could go wrong seemed to go wrong. Sometimes that's just how it is. So you're getting a wonky mat and all of my little failures this time, and hopefully maybe it makes you feel better about some times where things just don't go perfectly for you. All right, so I've got my little tear tape, and I'm gonna put that happy right on top of where the black ink was. You can kind of see a little bit of the black if you really look at the card, but I mean, you kind of have to go at an angle to see it. I think it looks fine. In the future, I'd probably mask off that top part and just stamp with that blank, but that was too much thought, I think, for me today. So here I'm just gonna add that tear tape to the bottom larger banner, and we're gonna attach that to the card. Okay, so the card is almost finished. I'm going to put a white panel on the inside so that I can write my sentiment. And now I'm just going to attach these little candy dots. Again, they don't match the Highland Heather, but they are very close. I'm not sure which Stampin' Up! Color that is. I did buy it several years ago. So anyway, I'm going to grab these dots. They do come with adhesive on them, but I have not had good luck with that adhesive actually keeping the dots to the card. So I'm going to use some mini glue dots to attach them. And I'm just going to randomly place them on my card. One thing I do tend to do, you'll see it with a lot of my embellishments or even with just stamp designs, I tend to bunch things in threes. I don't like even numbers. I don't know why. Unless I'm trying to make something that's specifically symmetrical, I just like the randomness of an uneven number. So I'm going to throw 3 of these candy dots up in the corner, and then on the bottom opposite corner, I'm going to stick one down there as well. And that's it. That's the finished card for today. It doesn't have a lot of dimension. It's pretty simple, so it should be able to be mailed normally. Sometimes I stick a little cardstock in front of it. I really like that Highland Heather color. That is such a great purple. I can't wait to use the other one, the Gorgeous Grape, I think it's called. Do not like these markers. I think I said my piece on that one. Not a fan, but I'd love to know in the comments if you like them and if you have any tips on making them not bleed, such as a different ink. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to watch more videos, please hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, give it a like, and I will see you soon with hopefully another video.